10 more students starved to protest national education curriculum. Japan may buy 3 of the 5 Diaoyu Islands. And victims of birth defect drug are insulted by late apology. Hello and a very good evening. With schools about to reopen tomorrow for the new academic year, opponents of the national education curriculum are stepping up efforts to get the program revoked immediately. 3 student demonstrators ended their hunger strike last night, but 10 others began a new one, hoping the government will meet their demands. Temily Tianmay reports.
I think they are very brave because they didn't eat anything and just sleep here.
That's what this 12-year-old thinks of the 10 hunger strikers that began their campaign today. His mother says she brought him here to educate him so that he wouldn't be easily susceptible to brainwashing, which she thinks the national education curriculum will cause. But Chief Secretary for Administration Carrie Lam said today that the government is also against brainwashing and that the introduction of the subject comes after long discussions. She urged the hunger strikers to take care of their bodies and not to get too emotional. But they see their act as a peaceful final resort.
What we got is just our body. We want to fight against the government with our body and make use of ourselves to tell the government that we don't want any brainwashing.
Those who believe that it's not clear is only lying to themselves and lying to the public. And for the moment, we are expecting the government to answer our response tomorrow because we have already sent them an ultimatum. Tomorrow, 5 p.m. will be the time when the government should respond.
Many protesters from the student group Scholarism have gone home to prepare for school, but they say they are happy that the 10 hunger strikers have stepped forward to carry on their battle.
The government still hasn't given a satisfying response. I think having the 10 of them taking over is to show that our persistence and perseverance.
The hunger strike comes after opponents of the subject surrounded the central government offices in a mass rally yesterday. Organizers said at least 40,000 people turned up, but police put the number at 8,100. To mark the first day of school, opponents have asked teachers and members of the public to show their resistance by wearing black tomorrow. They say that the end of the summer holidays will not mark the end of their movement against the controversial curriculum. Temily Tianmay, TV News.
Well, earlier this evening, Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying came out to reassure parents about the national education curriculum, saying the government would never implement anything to brainwash students. He also repeated his administration's resolve to tackling Hong Kong's housing problems by pushing through the recent measures unveiled last week. Well, it wasn't just those opposed to national education who were at Tamar today. Residents from the Northeast New Territories were there as well. They were there to protest against a plan to develop the area and want the government to reconsider the idea. Jessica Gable reports.
It's a sunny day at Tamar, and the atmosphere is more like a farmer's market than a protest. But that's exactly what it is.
The new territories, especially the Northeast NT, it is home to over 10,000 villages.
The demonstrators are against a government plan to redevelop the northeastern New Territories. Thousands would face relocation to make way for housing estates and a special industrial zone. Many of those affected are farmers, but foreign residents were also at the protest. The Crane family has been living at their village home for 2 years.
We got garden and it just, the village neighbors are so nice to us. And now they invite us to join us to fight for our land.
For her daughter, Michelle, it's simpler.
I just don't like moving because I'm going to miss the old house.
The villagers who came out today want sustainable development, and that means the government should take time to consult the public on what's best for them and for the land. This includes organic farming and the communities built up around it.
The fruit and vegetables at this table are just some of the examples of the livelihoods that people might lose if they have to relocate from the farms and the homes that they have in the new territories.
So every booth here has a message for the government. They want to keep not just their homes, but also their communities. The villagers are giving the government until September 22nd to reconsider. After that, they plan to take more action, although they're not saying just what that action is. Jessica Gable, TVB News.
There are reports that Japanese authorities are finalizing plans to buy 3 of the 5 Diaoyu Islands for more than $102 million. But as James La-Giglia reports, it's not clear if the Japanese government will purchase the islands from the private owners or from the Tokyo government.
Tokyo city officials, intending to buy tiny islands at the center of a long-time territorial dispute with China, began surveying the area today. Ahead of the purchase they hope will bolster Japan's claim. Tokyo Governor Shintaro Ishihara has raised $19 million in private donations over the last several months to buy the islands known as Senkakus in Japan and Diaoyus in China from individual Japanese owners. Ishihara, a popular nationalist, told reporters on Friday that he had spoken with Prime Minister Yoshihiko Noda and offered to turn over ownership of the islands to the central government for free. Noda said he would consider the offer, but did not have an immediate reply, according to Ishihara. The city government said the purpose of the visit by a team of 25 experts and officials was to survey the islands to assess their real estate value in preparation for the purchase. Yoshihiko Yamada, a special advisor to the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Survey team, said the islands are Japanese territory and their objective is to look at how to preserve them. Japan's central government did not grant permission for the research team to go ashore, no doubt to avoid a flare-up of tensions with China. The 5 uninhabited islands in the East China Sea are controlled by Japan, but also claimed by China and Taiwan, and have evoked nationalistic and patriotic fervor in both countries, particularly in China, which has bitter memories of the Japanese invasion in World War II. Last month, Japan detained 14 activists who are mainly from Hong Kong after some of them landed on the islands. They were later released and deported without charges. James La-Giglia, TVB News.
Protesters in Belgium clashed with police outside a convent after the country's Supreme Court sent the former wife of a notorious paedophile killer to the convent without first fulfilling her 30-year prison sentence. Hundreds of protesters tried to tear down barricades outside the convent after Michel Martin was transferred from the prison to the convent. Martin was the wife of Marc Dutroux, who was convicted of abducting, imprisoning and raping 6 girls in the 1990s. He was also found guilty of murdering 2 of the girls. Martin was convicted of conspiracy in the kidnappings and subsequent deaths of the 2 starved girls. Protesters maintain Martin should have served her entire 30-year sentence. A German drug company has apologized to mothers who took a particular morning sickness drug in the 1950s and 60s. The drug caused thousands of birth defects worldwide, and victims say an apology half a century later is an insult. Sonya Artero reports.
Reputable pharmaceutical companies routinely conduct tests to ensure their drugs do not adversely affect those taking them. But such was not the case for thalidomide, developed by the German firm Grünenthal. Also known as Contergan in Germany and Distaval in other countries, the drug was marketed internationally to pregnant women in the late 1950s and early 1960s as a treatment for morning sickness. But the end result led to 10,000 babies around the world being born with birth defects of malformed limbs or missing arms or legs. In Stolberg, Germany, the head of Grünenthal used the unveiling of a statue with shortened arms to commemorate the victims and offer an apology. He asked victims there to view the drug company's 50-year speechlessness as a sign of their silent shock over the terrible fate their drug had caused. In reaction, the Federal Association of Contergan said knowing that Grünenthal, a billion-euro company, paid 5,000 euros for the statue was a slap in the face of every victim. A spokesman representing thalidomide victims in England agrees, saying when an apology still fails to tell the truth, it amounts to a lie.
An apology should be something which admits wrongdoing. This doesn't, and therefore the thalidomiders are very upset about it.
Nick Dobrik is also adamant the government is equally to blame. Victims say the only thing thalidomide proved was that Grunenthal sacrificed lives for profit. As estimates show, for every one survivor, 10 babies died. Grunenthal maintains it's made amends by paying $629 million to victims. Sonya Artero, TVB News.
In South Africa, prosecutors have provisionally withdrawn murder charges against 270 miners who are accused of killing 34 striking colleagues. The 270 miners were arrested in clashes with police last month. The deadly clashes resulted from violence sparked by a wage protest at the country's Lonmin Platinum mine. 10 people, including 2 police officers, were killed prior to police intervention. Lawyers of the 270 miners are now demanding their immediate release. Both U.S. presidential candidates are crisscrossing the country trading barbs before the election, while President Barack Obama lampooned the Republican National Convention for offering no new ideas. His rival Mitt Romney capitalized on Obama's track record for having the weakest U.S. recession recovery. James La-Giglia reports.
U.S. Republican presidential nominee Mitt Romney drew heavily on sports metaphors at a campaign rally in Cincinnati, Ohio.